All right, so IGN has this big Resident Evil Requiem interview. Want to go over it real quick here, get some more details, see what we can, analyze from this and maybe digest a bit or dissect, I should say. So let's get into it as why the game's monster got supersized, why it's probably not Lisa Trevor, and a tease for areas beyond Raccoon City. Just don't talk about Leon, apparently, yeah. So I'm guessing they're just not ready to talk about Leon being in the game or not. I don't know. But last week in Cologne, Capcom's nerve jangling Resident Evil Requiem demo was one of the highlights of the Gamescom 2025 show floor, right? Offering an introduction to the game's hero, Grace Ashcroft, as well as a suitably unsettling monster. A short taster, not sure why they put that word in there, of next year's titles simultaneously felt fresh, but also like classic Resident Evil. So seems like they're trying to go for like a perfect blend of old and new for the series here for the upcoming 30th anniversary. Let's see, but as we all know, there's something else about Resident Evil Requiem driving fan interest right now, and that's the ongoing question mark over the status of floppy-haired fan favorite Leon S. Kennedy. Yeah, rumors persist he is in the game as a second character, though if indeed he is, Capcom once again held back from revealing the Resident Evil 2 and 4 star during the Gamescom opening night live story trailer. Yeah, they definitely did. Top of here, my gut feeling here is that Capcom is thoroughly enjoying all this speculation and in no hurry to end it one way or another. Of course, fans should expect more Resident Evil Requiem details to be announced in due course, but all according to the game's carefully curated marketing plan. And this is why, as I readied myself to sit down with Requiem director Koshi Nakanishi, and producer Masato Kumazawa. I'm trying to make sure I say that right. I was only not surprised to be told that the pair would not comment on whether Leon was in the game or not. Yeah. So let's see. That said, without specifically confirming Leon either way. Let's see. So they had plenty to say on fan expectations for a game that Capcom itself has been promoting as the entry that finally gets back to the franchise's origins. Though intriguingly, the pair confirmed Resident Evil Requiem was not designed specifically for 30th anniversary game. A clarification: Capcom perhaps feels necessary to keep some wider fan expectations in check. There's plenty below about Requiem's new monster star, a hulking, heavy, distorted female figure that seems set to take on the same stats as Mr. X. Yep, and apparent shutdown of the theory as to the monster's identity. Really? So it does sound like Lisa Trevor? So Koshi says she's scary if we don't tell you her name. Feel free to give her a nickname. Big Mama is one of the ones we've heard. Wow, people are calling her Big Mama. All right, jeez, internet. We're taking all kinds of suggestions. So IGN asks, like, these enemy characters often become emblematic of the games they're in, such as Mr. X, Nemesis, even Lady Dimitrescu. How do you begin designing these characters that become such a literally big part of your game? Yeah, good question. So Nakanishi responds, let's see. Yeah, there's been quite a few types of so-called stalker enemies in Resident Evil games over the years, and I think it's become a bit of a legacy of the series to have these pursuers. That made it difficult for us in terms of how to design a new one that would stand out amongst the crowd of iconic characters that you mentioned. Actually, in this case, the character was originally smaller, but I figured let's scale her up, and I think that was the right answer because then her incredible size suddenly becomes overwhelming and she literally stands out from the pack of stalker enemies. The base concept was an enemy that you would know in an instant, and when you glance, you know, like, that's not right. I don't want any part of this. This is bad. Let's see. So, and then they ask next. There's a clear visual cue when Big Mama steps into the light that suggests she can't follow you into lit rooms. The light burns her, and you immediately understand that this makes the lit rooms a safe zone. Was that a reaction to past safe zones in bright rooms where enemies aren't able to pursue you, but without an in-universe reason why? And they respond with, yeah, that's part of it. I wanted to bring a slightly new twist on the idea of exploring the so-called mansion-type environments that are typical to Resident Evil games, and rather than having a specific location that's safe or unsafe, you will have noticed that a lot of rooms have light switches and lamps and things in them. So I think it's more to let you have a chance to create your own room than in a given situation that particular creature is afraid of the light and won't come in. Interesting. So next they ask, one of my favorite moments from the demo was when the light went out in a room that I thought was safe. Are there still rooms which are definitely safe, but maybe with a typewriter in? Or is it that in this game no room is completely safe? That's a good question. So respond with, I'm glad that worked on you because that was my exact intention. I think with horror you need to establish the rules and then you need to break them to add even more fear and anxiety. So you figure out how to stay safe, and then you realize that's not as safe as you thought. It's a way to just bring a next level of fear to the experience. You think you have it, and then we pull the rug from your feet. So that's exactly my intention. Okay. I mean, that's cool with me. That's honestly cool with me. Add that more horror tension there, and mess with the player a bit, where you create a situation where the player thinks he's safe at one moment or early on in the game, and then later on that just gets flipped on its player's head. So yeah, cool. So are there rooms in the game that are definitely safe? Even I don't want to know if I can commit to 100% safe. Fair. All right, so next they ask, obviously Big Mama is the focus of this demo, but going back to those 4 rules, you are also presumably need sequences where the player feels more safe. How much of the game has the pure pursuer element in? Yeah, the demo takes place pretty early in the game, and the situation Grace finds herself in is the most terrifying of her life. She's a fairly inexperienced. Why does it say it like this? She's a fairly inexperienced. That doesn't make sense to have it written like that. She's never been in this kind of biohazard situation before, so that's pretty much like a maximum level of fear for her. What was like a translation error? There will of course be a growth that she experiences, and she'll grow through this and come out hopefully feeling a little less scared. And you'll have moments where you'll be able to take a break from the extreme horror and do some exploration, backtracking and puzzle solving, and then gun combat as well. Nice. She'll get a weapon in her hands. She won't be defensive throughout the entire game, and I think that is a satisfying growth journey that you go on with her, where she's not going to be terrified right through the end of the game. Yeah, makes sense. So Grace herself will be able to fire guns later in the game. Yeah, so they're asking that. And Masato says, yes, you are, as you mentioned, the series is known for this kind of tension and release. Let's see. Catharsis curve. We can't sustain maximum anxiety throughout, or it's tiring. But we also want to keep you on your toes, so you have to have this roller coaster dynamic tension throughout. And we're going for that again. But we want to make the wavelength of that curve be the biggest it's ever been, where you're going to have huge tension spikes, and then we give you a great release of tension as well. Okay. That makes sense. I mean, Resident Evil games always been, horror and action, and some of them have had great pacing and structure, others have not. All right, there are some very interesting theories about the monster online. I've seen discussion about Big Mama being Alyssa, literally Grace's mother. Interesting take. Turned into a monster. There's also chatter that the monster's screams sound the same as Lisa Trevor. Are you aware of some of these fan theories, and is there anything you would like to point players towards? So, Des respond with, we're very much aware of the discussion and speculation about this kind of thing, and as a player, whenever I'm playing a game, I love to get involved in that stuff, but I don't think it's fair for me to weigh in on those debates as a developer. Well, yeah, because you already know who she is, technically, so yeah. I don't want to burst this bubble before the game comes out. That expanding discussion and speculation is part of the fun of waiting for a game to release, and then you'll get the answer when you play the game. So hopefully you can that just a little bit longer. Dude, translation error or something here, man. One comment I will say is that you mentioned about the screen being part of the speculation. The sound of the demo is not final. It's actually temporary audio. I wouldn't focus too much on what you can hear in the demo right now. When the final game comes out, it'll become clearer. Interesting. So, baiting us or trolling us with Scream. Great. Thanks, Capcom. A lot of people who've played the demo here at Gamescom have said it would be great to release it publicly before the game comes out. In the past, Resident Evil series has done things like that. Is that something you are considering? I mean, of course they're going to do a demo for us. I just don't want them to do the same demo at Gamescom. They're going to respond with nothing that's confirmed or set in stone at the moment, but we are also monitoring the feedback of people who are playing the game at events, and we're going to take that into consideration when we decide our next steps. Really, it'd be weird if they didn't give us a demo to play. Let's discuss Alyssa. Fans were pleasantly surprised to see her return sometime after Resident Evil Outbreak. Why was her character picked to return and become such a big part of Requiem's story? And Nakanishi responds, we knew we wanted to return to Raccoon City for this game. It's been a long time since the Raccoon City incident, and for the past few titles, we've been exploring slightly more unknown corners of the Resident Evil universe. So coming back to the Umbrella Corporation and the series' main central mysteries and themes was the goal of this project. With that in mind, actually Alyssa was the perfect character to be the key to all this because she, as fans will know, is a survivor of the Raccoon City incident who then became a journalist and wanted to uncover the truth behind Umbrella Corporation's involvement. She chased up leads, and as you saw in the opening night live presentation, she ultimately paid the price of her life for that investigation. Grace, her daughter, now is the next generation. She didn't directly experience the Raccoon City incident, but her life is changed by the death of her mother. The murder of her mother as a consequence or cover-up of all this. So she's taking that torch to the next generation, and as an FBI investigator, wants to get to the truth behind not just the incident, but her mother's death as well. So when you think about it in those terms, really, Alyssa was crucial and almost the only character we could have used to connect all those dots together. All right, I got you, Capcom. So moving on here, and it feels intentional as Resident Evil series approaches its 30th anniversary to have a game that looks back at those origins, right? How ambitious are you being answering some of those mysteries and questions from the initial games in Requiem? Yeah, good question there. Let's see, Des respond with, it's difficult to exactly say how many of the lingering mysteries of Resident Evil lore will finally be answered, but you will get answers in this game to at least some of them. And while it's not an ending for the series, it moves the general storyline of the universe forward. Yeah, because they did talk about how before they want to keep Resident Evil going, but they want to stop doing like numbered titles. They want to get away from that and just have future titles, like I guess have like a subtext of some kind, like how Requiem is in a sense. So the next game will be Resident Evil such and such instead of a numbered title. Why did you make the decision with such a focus on the older games and older mysteries to introduce a new protagonist? Although there are a lot of connections in this game to the lore and mysteries of the series, past titles, and overall storyline, I don't want to give the impression that you have to be an expert in all this lore to really get the game. If this is your first Resident Evil game ever, we designed it so you can enjoy it on its own terms. As a game with a storyline that features a character who, if anything, as the new protagonist, Grace almost represents that kind of player. Makes sense. She's someone who didn't experience all of these things, but has heard of them and heard of Umbrella Corporation in Raccoon City. But it's actually all fresh and new and terrifying. Of course, if you are a fan and you know these things, there is an extra level that you can get out of it. But you can still get 100% from this game. Yeah? And if you do know any of it, you'll get 120%. And by having a new character, I think we can bring you on a journey with her that shows her growth. From being fairly terrified and inexperienced at the start of a game, when you'll feel the same, so you can grow with her and become more comfortable. I can't really say exactly what will happen on that journey. I'm really confident that you'll love coming along for the ride when the game finally releases. Yeah, makes sense. Always got to be coy. Always got to hold things close to the chest. There's so many fan favorites from Resident Evil series past that players want to see come back. Do you feel a need to include elements of the past, especially in this game that looks back to the series' origins? And they answer with, yeah, it's tough to answer without getting too much getting into too much we're not ready to talk about yet. But we know that people expect to be surprised or pleasantly surprised whenever they, like you say, they get the connections, or they're happy to see this and or that they're familiar with coming back. But I'm sure that people will be happy when they see how we managed to blend a fresh approach and a fresh new character with also things that fans will recognize. Interesting. All right, last question here. Finally, without asking about any particular character being in the game, I'll simply inquire, are you enjoying the current amount of speculation online about Resident Evil Requiem? And yeah, the devs of course are. Like, yeah, we love the checking out the conversations that are happening, but this isn't a game which is entirely focused on looking back, and we're back in Raccoon City, but that's not the only location in the game. It's coming out in their 30th anniversary, but it wasn't planned that way. It just ended up with the development was finished and the game is ready to release in 2026, which is the 30th anniversary. It wasn't built in to be an anniversary title that is only backward facing, so there's a lot more to the game than just the series legacy. We didn't call it Resident Evil 9 after all. There's a clue in the logo type. Ultimately, the name is Resident Evil Requiem. You know, it is Resident Evil 9. They're calling it Resident Evil Requiem. All right. That's what we want you to take from the name of the game. That said, the feeling we need to live up to fans' expectations is, in a good sense, a kind of pressure because it motivates us. So we love to see it. All right. Interesting. So technically it's Resident Evil 9, but they're calling Resident Evil Requiem. They're kind of getting away from the number of titles in this game. So didn't give us too much more information, and they're trying to play coy and be like, you know, mess with our heads a bit and saying that's, I guess, maybe not Lisa Trevor as the monster. There's speculation that it could be Alyssa, the mother of Grace, which honestly I didn't think about, didn't really consider that. But I mean, maybe, I don't know. And then they're saying the whole Scream, don't go off of that Scream, even though it sounds like Lisa Trevor from the past game. That's a temporary audio file that they're good. The final game's gonna have a different Scream, I guess, audio. So that's gonna give you more of, like, I guess, a clue or detail of like who the monster is. So they're definitely messing with us. Capcom's having fun. We'll definitely learn more at Tokyo Game Show, I believe. They're gonna be there. Yeah, Capcom's lineup should include Resident Evil Requiem. And then outside of that, I mean, there's Game Awards. So unless there's some type of special event before Game Awards and after Tokyo Game Show that's going to pop up, like maybe a state of play, which I don't think is going to happen, or they may just randomly drop their own thing. They could have their own Capcom event between Tokyo Game Show and Game Awards at some point. I know the Capcom Spotlight or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see though. But this is interesting stuff, guys. And what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts and speculations when it comes to Resident Evil Requiem. Love to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.